Okay, so we're looking at an IELTS Task 1 task, and today we have a map pattern. So this is always fun. I actually prefer doing maps in Task 1. I think they're actually much easier to do than the line charts and bar graphs, which can sometimes be a bit tricky. I usually like a good map. However, this map that they've given us, what a horrible map. It's so confusing the way they've done it, because normally in an IELTS Task 1 you've got map 1 and then you've got map 2, or maybe you've got 3 different pictures. In this map they've combined everything together. So let's take a look. Chorleywood is a village near London whose population has increased steadily since the middle of the 19th century. Do we know what we mean by the 19th century? Okay, so how you would write that, 19th century also basically means 1800 to 1899. Confusing, right? Why does it say 19th century when it starts with an 18? Because you start counting from 0. So that's what they mean. The map below shows the development of the village. So you've got to describe how the village is developed. So rather than giving you different maps, they've said, well, here, I'm just going to show you in each year how it's grown. So this is very confusing for me when I first looked at it. And I was like, what are you talking about? So this is the first part of the village, okay? The 1868 to 1883. And then this is the second development of the village, okay? And then this is the third development, okay? And then finally, this was built all over here. Okay, so that's the first thing to get straight, okay? So it started off small, then it grew a little bit more and expanded out southwards, and then we've got a lot of expanding to the east, okay? So when you're describing maps, don't forget that you want to go north, south, east, and west when talking about development, okay? Then we've got the main road, then we've got a motorway built in 1970, and then a railway built in 1909, okay? So the road was first, then they built this part between 1922 at the same time as the railway. So the railway was built together, okay? And then the motorway was built in 1970, which is when they built all this housing. So this would be number 4 as well, okay? Interesting. Does anyone know, would you know what this was called in English? Like, when you have a road, and it kind of looks like this. I don't know if you have these in Korea very much. And you drive, and then you sort of go around, and you drive out. We call this a roundabout in the UK. And we have a lot of them, okay? Because you're going round, around something, a roundabout. So we have a lot of those in the UK. I don't think I've ever really seen that many in Korea. But okay, so now we've sort of looked at the basic development of this village. You want to pick out some main features that you want to talk about, okay? So first thing I would notice is that gradually, at first it developed around the train station, was the first development. It grew and got a train station. And then the second part is basically that they built this motorway in 1970. And then that spurred further eastern development of the village. Okay, so I think I would split it like that. I would split talking about the map between sort of pre-1970 and then after 1970. I think that's the easiest way to do it. But it would have been much easier if they'd given you 2 different pictures. I don't know why they put it in one picture. All right, so let's see what this candidate's done. The map accounts for the history and history and development of Chorleywood over about 120 years. I would say over the course of, because we know it was specifically, very specific, over the course of 120 years. The main road, which is shaped like a cross, splits this village into 4 areas. Well, I mean, not really. I mean, the main road. I would just say the main road, railway, and motorway split this village into 4 sections. Okay, I like that. So there's 4 areas. Okay, so the checked area. So you wouldn't want to say the checked area. You want to specifically say the dates and times when stuff was built. The checked area is 3 times bigger than the previously built one. In between these 2 developments, the railway was built across the second developed one, which is shown as parallel line. Okay, well, this sentence isn't really very clear to me what it means. Which two developments? You want to give me some dates and years are missing from here. It may be, I think perhaps this candidate, when they sent in this essay, there was maybe a mistake when they copied it across to send it in. I don't think this is what this candidate originally wrote. So I'm pretty sure that they must have written something a bit longer, and I'm just seeing like a partial bit of it. Okay, so if the person who wrote this is watching the video, I'm sure this isn't what you actually sent in, because I think something's missing from up here, which would help this make a lot more sense. As the construction of the railway, the main public transportation of the village was completed, which is Chorleywood Station. This is an incomplete sentence. As the construction of the railway, the main public transportation of the village was completed, which is Chorleywood Station. Can you hear how I read that? You're missing a second part of the sentence. As the construction of the railway was finished, something else happened, okay? Because you're saying two things happened at the same time. As it was completed, the village expanded to the south, or there was increasing housing built to the south. After that, from 1922 to 1970, a new area which is indicated as dots. This part you don't need. Okay, give me directions. A new area you say to the south, or a new development south of the train station. What they want to see is that you can describe where things are on a map in relation to each other, okay? It was to the south of the train station, or to the east and west of the main road, or something like that. Same way it was finished in the dotted spot, again, before the construction that penetrates from the south to the north of the village. Lastly, a bunch of places were developed. This is too informal. Okay? You don't want to say a bunch of places were developed along the motorway. You want to say there was some development along the motorway in the late 20th century. Okay, so it's going to be quite difficult for me to grade this answer, because I think a lot of it was missing. But the main issue, and this is something that you should be aware of when writing map challenges like this, is that this is my main issue with it. In the dotted spot, indicated as dots, which is shown as parallel line. You don't need to say that. Like I said, please tell me in terms of direction which part of the map you're talking about. That's the skill in English that the examiner wants to see, that you can say the area that was developed below the railway station to the west of the river. That's what they want to see that you can do in English, not to say dotted spots. In terms of task achievement, it has to be a 4.5, because they've not fully explained the map, and they've not picked out main features, and there's no overview really. And I understand that I think some parts of this essay is missing, so I don't think it's entirely this candidate's fault. But I'm just on what I have here, this is what it would be graded as. Cohesion and coherence, it didn't really make sense, and it was very difficult for me to follow what they meant. It was all jumbled together in one big paragraph. You need different sections to your task 1 essay, okay? So like I pointed out, those kind of two comparisons, you need two different paragraphs to make it logical, change over time, okay? So to make it logical and easy to follow, I found this whole paragraph very confusing, as it didn't really seem to make sense. Vocabulary didn't show me that much vocabulary, and grammar, there was a lot of grammar mistakes, okay? So it's probably coming out at a 4.5 for this, but I totally understand if you wrote this and you sent it in, I know that there's a part missing, okay? So don't take this as I'm sure if you added in the first part, it would make a lot more sense, but especially cohesion and coherence, paragraphs, okay? Please make sure to be using paragraphs, okay? That will increase your cohesion and coherence score, okay? And in terms of task achievement, okay, give me more description of where locations are on the map. I would really tell this candidate to go back and practice a lot more map tasks and look at some example map task answers, just to get used to the style and how they want you to write it. I'm pretty sure if this candidate does a little bit more practice and a little bit more review, these two scores will definitely go up and help them out a lot. So that would be my advice to them, to go away and read a bunch of examples so you can get a feeling for the style of how this task is supposed to be written. But I think there's a lot of potential, and this candidate can do better next time.